Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and welcome to Lesotho Television. You just came to Lesotho and observed one of the democratical processes taking place in Lesotho. What was your observation up to so far? Even though we know the IEC of Lesotho is still going through the results.
I would like to congratulate you all for your participation in the Electoral Act, which was the way of exercising your citizenship and your rights. You have made the choice of your leaders for the time to come. We have observed that the preparation for the elections, although it was made in a very short time, it was very much satisfactory for us. There are countries which have time to prepare, which do not prepare as thoroughly as this one. So it means that the Electoral Commission has used its experience of the many elections which took place in Lesotho, but also because it's a commission which is a member of other organizations in the SADC, for instance, getting the experience from the others. But we were satisfied with the preparations which were made. Second, we were satisfied with the training of the agents who conducted the electoral process in all polling stations. They were young, but we would put questions to them and they would answer us very much professionally. And also we observed what was their relationship with the voters and what their relationship with the observers, with the security, and all went in harmony. We're worried that the presence of the army could have brought some intimidation to people who would not go, but we saw many people passing close to the soldiers who were at the fence of the yard with no fear and going to vote and come back. And we noticed that the military themselves did not interfere with the movements of the voters or of the agents. So whatever has prompted the presence of the army did not bring any consequences or bad consequences on the process. So the fears which were expressed by some then were due maybe to considerations which they had because of the lack of this practice in the past. And so it was a new thing maybe for many. But I think that the results themselves may show that there was no fear. No one was intimidated anyway.
And again, or you touched on the electoral and legal framework that you talked about during your presentation. Lesotho had always have somehow similar programs that were carried over from until we talk about the mixed proportional representative that they used, which was introduced somewhere in 2002. Up to now, we're still going through that challenge, especially in the government of Lesotho. What's your view? What have you observed regarding that?
Well, that is something which we could not observe because this will come after the results are there, and to see how this mechanism is applied of dual system. It has been applied in the past. I'm sure that the consequences of that may be this this weakness of the coalitions. Maybe that is the cause. But what we are saying is that there should be a regulatory framework which indicates how the process should be followed, so that everybody may have the same understanding of what is meant by this system. And so the reforms which are to come, they should discuss this deeply. If need to change, again, it may be changed. But if they find that they can find a mechanism which would have the same interpretation, which will be almost mechanically applied, then there would be no problem.
So do you think this floor crossing within the parliament might be one of the problems or the challenge within the government of Lesotho, the floor crossing issue?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's one of the problems or the challenges that should be looked at, especially during the reforms?
Yes, it is necessary to look at it because it takes different forms in different countries. For instance, in my country, there's no such a thing like floor crossing, but sometimes you find one party excluding from the party one of their members who is a member of parliament. In my country, for instance, that member of parliament will continue to be member of parliament, but he cannot cross to the other party, to the other parliamentary group. He will be acting as an independent member of parliament. So it's one way of doing things. In some countries, some other countries, you cross to the other side and then you lose your right to be a candidate in the forthcoming elections after that. So here I don't know what is regulated about this issue. And of course, if one is has been elected in a list or supported by a party, there are people who elected them, who voted for them. So when he changes his mind and he crosses to the other side, he doesn't go to those who voted for him to ask their opinion. So it's something which has to be seen, looked at carefully, because also it defends the image of those who exerted the vote to enable this candidate to become an MP. So they have to discuss and reach some consensus.
So one of the issues that you talked about, especially on the security sector, it's about one of the issues that you talked about when talking about security environment, were the overlapping regarding the mandate of both the police and the army. Do you think there's a lack of understanding of what one should do, or the regulation or the rules, the laws that govern those two security sectors are not clear to the politicians themselves? Or should we talk about the trust that politicians should be giving, or the independence of all these institutions?
Yeah, for me it's a question of clarifying. If there were fears of the presence of the military, it's because the people are not accustomed to it. So they maybe taking in consideration the violence which occurred in the past here in Lesotho, the people are afraid that when military forces are around and the police is around, there might be some clashes, and they start asking questions what prompts the military to be present. For instance, we know that the police and the military discussed, and they decided that for these elections they needed to work together in order to guarantee better protection and peace and harmony during the process. Maybe this is related to their analysis of the situation, the tension which existed, prevailed at this moment. And they thought that now they have to be together so that they don't clash with each other and maintain peace and security for the process of elections. But then there's a lot of discussion about the interpretation of the Constitution. It seems that the Constitution gives an opening for, not an opening, but the term that the military also may be responsible for maintenance of law and order. But particularly the Military Act shows that they have got this right and this responsibility. So it brings a problem, because now they want to fulfill their responsibility, and they are told, no, don't do that. Some are saying that's unlawful, and so this is a bit disturbing. So that's why I think that this has to be discussed. Again to clarify, so not only that the military be clear of what they are allowed to do, the police is clear about what they are allowed to do, but also the citizens to be explained how each one of the forces should conduct itself. So each country will define differently. But what Basotho are going to decide that it is the way, then it has to be respected.
For some time now.
And of course, some clauses there must be foreseen to avoid abuse, because both police and military, they use guns, and so if one wants to abuse, if the things are not clear, it can. But if there are sanctions, if discipline, and so on, all this should be seen. What is necessary to create confidence in the relationship between citizens and these forces?
Among the issues that had been touched on or had been discussed for a very long time, especially during the elections, is based on the media polarization. What do you think is taking place in Lesotho for a very long time? It's not getting any resolution, or it's not being solved. The media is not performing well regarding the observation that had been, or the report that had been given so far.
Well, I think that the media, which is depends on the government, could learn some lessons from what is being done elsewhere, even in the region of SADC. And take, for example, Mozambique. We have an airtime which is allocated equally to all the parties contesting for the elections. There's a criteria which is legally foreseen to allocate airtime, and the utilization of the airtime depends on the party itself, and no one is going to use that airtime. Even if that party doesn't use that airtime, will be left empty. So this solves a lot of problems. It does not depend on the manager of the broadcasting station or so it channel or what. It depends on the parties themselves. But it can be done differently. What is necessary to have a very clear criteria, which will enable every party to partake.
For Lesotho going for elections time and again, 3 elections in 5 years, can elections bring stability in Lesotho?
Well, the way I see these elections, these present elections, is that it's a way of creating the minimum base necessary to allow for a dialogue, which must be more prolonged, and in order to create a new, more sustainable framework for the electoral process itself, to bring a new common vision of what democracy or what democratic process the Lesotho want. That's why I think that this is not a discussion of one day or 1 month or even 1 year. Maybe it will take it longer than that to go through all the reforms, because you need to start building a stronger confidence, a process of confidence building among the politicians, to see that they are brothers who accepted to have different views and to discuss freely about those views and to contest it for posts of leadership, but they will continue to cooperate in one way or another. So you need to create a change of attitude through dialogue, change the mindset of the leaders, but also of the citizens, as they look at the leaders, how as the leaders look at the citizens. And so there's a lot to be discussed.
You talked about the time that needs to be taken in order to implement all these reforms. Why is it so difficult? Like now, for instance, all these recommendations had been on a government's desk for a very long time. They went to Commonwealth, get advice over the governments, what are the loopholes regarding the coalition government that we have just seen from 2012. But all the recommendations at TLSADC have been on the government desk for a very long time. Why does it take long for our leaders to implement all this?
Well, I think that the answer to that is irrelevant, because it has taken long. But what we know now is there's a pledge by all stakeholders that whoever wins, they will come together to proceed with the reforms. Here, I would dare to advise that this process of reforms should not be confined only to the government members, but it should embrace the maximum of political players as possible, including the civil society, so that the reforms are owned by the nation. Actually, I would dare to think about a dialogue, a discussion, in order to define a vision for the future of Lesotho, not only from this election to the next elections, but something which can be implemented by any government, from right or left or center. When they come, there's one thing which is a common understanding of the nation, which we say this is the vision of the Lesotho for the next 20, 25, 30 years to come. And so you work on these lines. Even that, it will not be a closed thing. Every year, time and again, has to be reviewed, revised, streamlined, and so on, so that this vision is objective to the conditions of Lesotho.
Lastly, what would be your advice to anyone who will be forming government for Lesotho, and what kind of a support will you be giving Lesotho or the next government we are going to see as AU?
Well, Lesotho is a member of the AU. I'm just leading the observation team, and my task ends there. But the OAU has got all these leaders, the current presidents who are leading this. But as for a person like me, like the other former heads of state, we are there, ready to help in whatever the current governments ask us to do. I don't know whether you are aware that we have a forum of former heads of state, and the criteria of democratic entry and democratic exit. And those who exited that way, we have a group who we meet from time to time to discuss about politics, about the situation, economic, anything in Africa, about the diseases and so on. And we, from time to time, we are invited to participate in observation of elections. We're invited for mediation of conflicts. We are invited for lectures or seminars. We are there, and sometimes the leaders come and talk to us. So we exchange views with them about our past experience and also for our analysis of the present state of affairs in Africa and in the world. So we think that Lesotho should take advantage of their presence in SADC, in African Union, and Commonwealth, and the United Nations to get those experiences and adapt them to the situation of Lesotho. Lesotho is a kingdom. Mozambique is not a kingdom. So something may have to be adjusted there in the way of proceeding. And this has to do with the culture of the country also. All this has to be taken into consideration.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Wish you all the best on your next endeavors.
Thank you.